Well, I've got a special guest right on the other end of the phone. It is, of course, the one and only George Galloway. Good afternoon, George.
Good afternoon, Peter.
How are you doing?
Replacement Jack, but I'm the next best thing.
Yeah. How are you doing, George?
Well, I'm looking forward very much to February in Sunderland.
Yes.
It's a little while since I've been there. I've been at the football there a couple of times, and my kid, my son, a football protege, was playing there last autumn, but it was in and out again. So I'm really looking forward to remaking my acquaintance with the city.
Yes.
On the 7th of February.
Yes, on the 7th of February in the Mountain Daisy in Sunderland, which will be...
yeah, it's a great place, the Mountain Daisy.
Yes.
I mean, I had not been there before, but it's a perfect venue and run by terrific people, and the staff are so good. Everyone's going to enjoy it, I think. I hope.
Yes, I think it'll be a great evening, won't it? So...
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, my shows are normally happy affairs, a bit of one or two tears maybe about things gone by, times gone by, but mainly laughter and optimism. That's what I like to spread in the audience. And my goodness, there's a dire need of optimism right now.
Well, yes, you're right there. Tell us a little bit about your show, what people can expect from this MOATS Roadshow. Yeah,
well, MOATS stands for the Mother of All Talk Shows, which began on Talk Sport in January of 2005, so nearly 20 years it's been running.
Yeah.
And it's a very big show now. I have 1 million viewers every week, absolutely steady every week, sometimes 1.2 million at times of big events, big crises and so on, which unfortunately happen quite often. But 1 million steady every week. And the idea occurred that people would like to see the faces behind the show. So basically I take the whole team on the road. Our last one was in Stockport in Greater Manchester. It was packed out. My wife interviews members of the audience, and then we play those interviews on the subsequent edition of the Mother of All Talk Shows. And then on stage, I talk about the current situation, how things were in the past, what I think they need to be in the future. I poke fun at contemporary political personalities, and there's quite a bit of fun to be had at their expense. But I also talk about some of the great figures from the past that I spent nearly 30 years in Parliament with, people like Mr. Benn, even people on the other side like Michael Heseltine, like even Margaret Thatcher. I mean, it's not part of political broadcast in any way. I tell tales behind the screen, as it were, the things that happened to me in what is now quite a long political lifetime. And as I say, there's plenty of laughs. You won't come out of there feeling down, I promise you that.
No, and it's been you've been doing, like you say, you've been doing it for about 30 years. Did you say it was?
I was almost 30 years in Parliament, but I've been more than 50 years in politics. And so, you know, I've seen a lot of them come and go. And people, I think, value a voice of experience. Experience is not everything, sometimes not all it's cracked up to be, but it does give you a repository of great stories, memories, reminiscences. And people, I find, often like that. But I've got very clear ideas about what the future should be. And I've got, by the grace of God, 6 children, the youngest of whom is 2 years old. So I've got a future to try and build for them. And I think everybody worries about the future. And I lay out on these events the way things ought to be. I know that you know, times are tough. I just wanted to say, Peter, if
we are at the moment, aren't there? I mean, with the cost of living crisis, and
well, that's right.
You know, it's a bit.
People are struggling to buy a ticket. Then please contact the lads at the Mountain Daisy, and they'll arrange things. So if you're unemployed or an old age pensioner, or you can't afford the £10 for the ticket, get in touch. We'll squeeze you in somehow.
Oh, that is really nice, George. That is really nice. So if you're unemployed, a pensioner, or you can't afford the £10 to come and see the show, get in touch with the staff at the Mountain Daisy, and they'll
square you up. Yeah,
they'll square you up. That is absolutely, that is fantastic. And it's great to see a lot of people are doing that, aren't they? Here we have like warm hubs, where people are opening the door, where they can go for a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, a bit of lunch. All for free.
Peter, it's going to be a long, hard winter, and next winter won't be any easier. We are in an economic, political, geopolitical crisis, and we have to find our way out of it. But while we do that, we've still got to go at the football. We've still got to laugh at the television and laugh on the 7th of February at the stories I'll have to tell.
Yes.
We can't succumb to gloom and doom.
No, well, we can't, can we? We've got to keep positive.
Otherwise you give up, and you're never defeated until you've given up. As long as you haven't given up, there's still a hope that you can come back. Sunderland Football Club proved that. I watched that Sunderland Till I Die. I watched it twice with two of my sons separately. And you would have thought that Sunderland were absolutely doomed. But look at them now. Look how well they're doing now. Look how well Newcastle is doing now. Well, you wouldn't have thought in the last 4 or 5 decades that Newcastle United might be in the Champions League. But it's very much a possibility now. So, things are not always as bad as they look, and the worm can turn, and things can look up again.
They can. You're right there. You're right. And so, are you looking forward to coming to Sunderland and coming to the North East?
Very much. It's not been on my beaten track, as I say. I haven't spoken there since, it would be early last year. I showed my film on the strange death of David Kelly. I showed it in the Copthorne Hotel in Newcastle. That was the first time I'd appeared in a public event in the Northeast for some time, and I haven't been back since. So I'm very much looking forward to it. It's important that every part of the country gets people going there and entertaining them, and hopefully educating them, maybe even mobilizing them. It's important. It's as important in the Northeast as it is in the Southwest, or as it is in London. I love all of our country, from Land's End to John O'Groats.
Yeah, and you're in Manchester, aren't you? Is that correct?
Well, I'm off. Two of my sons are in Manchester.
Yeah.
We're a Manchester United family. I hate to break that to you.
Yeah. It's okay. You don't worry about it, George. I don't follow football.
All right. Okay. All of my sons are potential professional footballers there. So two of my sons are in Manchester. I spend a lot of time there. I spend a lot of time on the Scottish borders, and I'll be travelling from there to Sunderland on the 7th. So not a great distance to follow, although it would be better if it was a better road. But we'll be there in good time for the event on the 7th. But I'm no longer in London, put it that way.
You're no longer.
I spent 35 years of my life
in London,
more or less based in London, and I'm glad to be out of it.
Yeah, it is. It's very fast pace of life in London, isn't it? And everybody's rushing around.
Dangerous,
Everyone's rushing around.
When you've got a teenage son like I do, you're scared to let them out the door.
Yes, I can.
And even your younger children and girls can come to all kinds of mishaps in London. London has been very, very badly managed for a very long time under Boris Johnson, and it's not any better under Sadiq Khan. I'm glad to be out of London, glad to be back up in the north. See, Sunderland's in the south, so far as I'm concerned, hailing from Dundee as I do. But all of this green and pleasant land is I regard as my land, my people, and I'm looking forward to, as I say, remaking my acquaintance with Sunderland.
Yeah, and being a politician, it must be hard for yourself to, see what, from. I mean, I'm not into all the, politicians and kind of things and stuff like that, but looking at things now and thinking how have we got to this point where maybe obviously we've got more strikes than anything else going on at the moment, haven't we?
Well,
everyone's on strike.
Our people are shivering. Our people are increasingly hungry, attending food banks. Even working people, even people with a job, can't afford to heat their homes or feed themselves. Our unemployment rate is growing. Our inflation rate is the worst in the developed world. It's already double figures. It might reach 20%. And so when your boss offers you a 4% wage increase, he's really offering you, at best, a 6% wage cut. And if it's worst, it'll be a 14% wage cut. So I've got a great deal of sympathy for the workers who are trying to make a stand to mitigate against the wage cuts that are being offered to them by the employers. But we're in very real difficulties, and our political class isn't up to the challenge. I'm reading right at this moment a new book about the time that Winston Churchill spent as Prime Minister, as a Member of Parliament in my own hometown of Dundee, fought and won 7 elections there. Well, lost the 7. But he was an MP in Dundee for 12 years. And I got to thinking as I was reading it, in the midst of all these challenges, there's no Winston Churchill on the horizon. There's no Winston Churchill in this picture. We've got a dwarfish political class nowadays. Literally, in the case of Rishi Sunak, he's about 4'10", platform heels. But metaphorically, in the case of the other political leaders, also we have never faced greater challenges since 1940. And when we stood alone in our darkest hour, followed by our finest hour. But there ain't no Ernie Bevins, there ain't no Clement Attlees, there ain't no Winston Churchills in this picture.
Yeah, well, you're right there. Well, do you know what, George? It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. Sorry about this, there we go. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you today. And like I said, people can go and see you at the Mountain Daisy on Tuesday the 7th of February.
At 7 o'clock,
At
Peter.
7 o'clock, at the Mountain Daisy in Sunderland. And also, if anybody who is an old age pensioner or unemployed or can't afford the £10 ticket, then get in touch with the Mountain Daisy and they will sort you out.
That's it.
Yeah, which is
Peter, I'm grateful to you for the opportunity. I hope you'll get along to the show yourself.
Yeah.
And a hearty welcome to all of your listeners.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah, and a Happy New Year to you too as well, George. Thank you very much for coming on Nova Radio North East this afternoon.
Many thanks, Peter.
Many thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.